Back. We're glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV. Coming from the break, and that live report from our man on the ground, Stephen Mbide, shows the extent of grief, suffering, and of course a loss of hope that many Ugandans do experience when adversity strikes. A fire at Nakawa Market, and some of the officials there are complaining that KCCA, that should be able to know exactly what is going on, is nowhere to be seen. That is a damning assessment. We do hope that later an official there can be able to make an appearance, and of course we see the way forward regarding that. It is the state of the country, and some of the issues that do make for discussion will of course be coming up in our Kickstarter. What will make the foundation of the discussion is the new cabinet that was amended. That's a list that came in during the weekend. I have with me Joseph Kableta. He's the president of NEED. You're most welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to say it that way so that we can understand what is the NEED.
Oh, NEED is an acronym for National Economic Empowerment Dialogue, which is the name of the party that I head.
That's right.
And so it states the name of the party and the purpose. What is our key pursuer? That's economic empowerment. That's the key message that we pursue. So it's all in the acronym.
Okay. Now, before we get underway with discussing the structure of the new cabinet, what it means for service delivery, but also to delve into the relationship between the National Resistance Movement Party, which is governing, and the pressure groups that continue to come up within its own settings, including the one that has until about now led by the first son, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Let's first hear from lawyer Julius Kihumuro on his assessment of what is the way forward with regard to what could well be a potential cause of tensions within the governing party.
Who formed it, where is it, and what is PRA? It's not there. PRA, it's not there. It's not there. So don't get worried of PRA. Actually, this is even the end of the smaller PRA that even was there. It is very possible. You get the beehive and remove the queen. You see what will happen. Simple. Get the beehive where it is, remove the queen. Now the king has been removed. He's going to be entangled by the law, by the military law. The other time he has been a serving officer, but a redundant serving officer. Now he's a committed CDF, 24/11 in office. Will he have this time of rotating around with whatever? Unless maybe the agents, now I see one of them, Bargari, has been appointed a minister. I don't know what is he going to serve. You wait, they are going to take the oath. What the oath will say? To serve PRA, to serve Uganda.
Julius Kihumuro there, giving what is no doubt a very thorough assessment of his own making of what the PLU, that is the pressure group for now, called a party by some, that is led by General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Let me return to our guest in studio, Joseph Kableta. First, what's your take of the news cycle in the last 72 hours in the country?
I'm guessing that's in respect to the new cabinet and so on.
When you CDF?
The reality is a bit of what he's saying. The truth is it's all about the next president. And now the president has played his cards openly for everybody to see that he intends to install his son as president. Now, the PLU, which was a group formed by some of his peers and people who were trying to popularize him across the country, were trying to take a different path from what Mr. Museveni thinks should be taken. They were trying to take a path leading towards General Muhoozi being elected through universal adult suffrage, the way the general elections are. And I think they probably got him deluded to think that he can actually go down that path and win, and he was maybe beginning to enjoy a few of the delusions. But the reality is that his father knows that cannot happen. That's why the father said that that group is full of opportunists, and there I agree with him. It was full of opportunists. But that doesn't mean that the father doesn't want him as his replacement. He does. The question is, how does he want him to take that place? Now, that's where the key thing is, because if it was to go down that path that PLU was taking, it would benefit so many people, and there were so many hangers-on who knew that the work of apparently popularizing Muhoozi to a point that he's electable is going to require a war chest of money, a lot of resources, which they would be in control of, and man, they would have a nice time. But the president knows that's not going to happen, not at any one time. So he has chosen a different path. And so in so doing, he has actually exploded the PLU, taken off the head, and now deployed him fully as commander-in-chief, which has been planned for him all along. All these cards we knew a long time ago. In 2019, when I was still writing rants, I wrote everything as it has happened now, and I was even taken to Chireka and tortured at the orders of the current CDF and so on, and all because I was revealing a plan which was there. So, of course, Museveni has famous. I said, nobody knows what's in my mind, because only I know what's in my heart. But at some stage, we get to know, because he's now playing the cards openly. So now, obviously, there are two ways he sees this as happening. The first is, you remember just a few weeks ago, he gave the CDF, before it was Muhoozi, when it was in Badi, he gave him full powers of deployment and all that.
That is the launch of the establishment book.
Yes. Now, when that happened, everybody knew it was just a matter of time before we saw the real CDF, because it wasn't General Mbadi at the time, that for whom those powers were, prepared. It was the one who currently occupies that seat. So now he comes in, he finds those powers, apparently given to his predecessor, but really given to his predecessor for his benefit. Now, moving away from that, now Muhoozi is in total control. So now what Museveni has done is insulated himself against, as he sees it. Of course, we see it differently. As he sees it, as he goes along, in case anything happens, let's say in case he drops dead, because he's a mortal man,
God forbid.
Well, I won't say that, but in case he drops dead, the military takes over, then his son is the de facto president as the CDF. That's one way of looking at it. In case he stays on until 2026, he doesn't have his son pretending that he's going to stand for presidency and stand against his father. The son will
cause unnecessary commotion.
Cause unnecessary commotion. So the son will be in the full deployment as CDF, as the president goes ahead to cheat another election, as he's done so many others before. And now, as this is how he's seeing it. I'm looking at it from his point of view. I'm trying to explain it from his point of view. Now, after that, then he will plan a different way of electing presidents, one that will suit his son. And that's where him defending the speaker comes in. That's where the importance of Speaker Anita Among comes in, because everything is going to be done in Parliament. Because we know that there have been talks of going to a parliamentary system, and they kind of come and test waters and then go back. You've had that. Test waters and go back. A parliamentary system. Parliamentary system means that people don't elect a direct president. They elect members of parliament from different parties, and the party which has the most number of MPs forms the president, or usually it's the prime minister. That's one way of looking at it. The other way, which has also been tested, is that the parliament actually elects a president. They've also fronted that idea. And so everything, either way, everything is going to be done in Parliament. And Anita Among is going to be very crucial. That's why the president finds it necessary to go and open her schools in Bukedea and teaching hospital and so on, which are named after his son and his daughter, and finds it necessary to protect her, apparently, against homosexuals and stuff like that, because she has a very big role to play in all of this. So he knows that there is not going to be Ugandans voting Muhoozi in universal adult suffrage. He knows that. But he's thinking of other ways in which he can impose him on the country. One of them is, as I told you, in case anything happens, military takes over, CDF is de facto president. Number two, in case that thing doesn't happen before 2026, they change the voting pattern, and now it's all down to parliament. So direct elections for president end, and then it is easier for Muhoozi to take over in NRM as the leader than it is for him to go and be voted across the country. You know what I'm saying? Now,
no, I don't.
Eh? No, you don't.
Let me hear you.
You want to
let me
okay,
hear.
I know why you don't know. Now, because you don't want to know. Anyhow, so it's easier for him to take over in NRM. Then we go for those sort of elections. And then NRM, of course, because of the war chest and all that, has the most number of MPs. So its leader is automatically the head of state, whether prime minister or president, I don't know. Now, that's why there's been a lot of fuss about NRM registers. Have you been following that? Registering NRM people, registers, you know, and all that. And even the president going on to say that if anybody registers as an NRM supporter when he is not, that he will go for 7-year imprisonment. I don't know where he gets these laws from. He's like a king. He just comes up with laws as he goes ahead, with no regard whatsoever to any form of, you know, legal structure. But anyhow, the reason there's been a lot of fuss about NRM registers is because of that. That is where the power is going to lie shortly, as if Museveni had his way. Of course, I know he's not. Now, if he had his way. So now, recently, somebody who lost 3 pages of the NRM register was sent to prison for losing 3 pages. You know, they've registered and somehow you misplaced 3 pages and you go to prison. Why? Why is there such a fuss over the NRM registers? Because that's where it is going to be. NRM, that is going to be the whole system that apparently he's planning to use to get his son into power, not the universal adult suffrage that the PLU people wanted. That's why he's taken Balama, who was the chief organizer, mobilizer, given him a ministerial post to keep him busy, taken away some other people who were part of PLU, given them ministerial positions and other deployments to keep them busy, to disband that thing, because he knew it was an exercise in futility. Now for him, he has his own method of doing things.
Do you think that the PLU and all its activities that have been ongoing across the country in what you call the positioning, the attempted positioning of Muhoozi Kainerugaba was done without the express endorsement of the president, i.e. further?
First of all,
do you think it was a completely independent project undertaken by Muhoozi?
It is one that did not have his blessing from the beginning, but that he can maybe kind of let go. And maybe they were trying to convince him that it is possible to make his son popular enough to win an election here. But you see, the one thing Museveni has is he's not delusional. That's why he has managed to rule us for all these years. He knows the reality, and he knows what reality looks like. But now, of course, there were all these people who came and surrounded him and said, no, we can make it happen, we can make it happen. And usually he would say, okay, go and see what you can do. But he did not have his blessing. That's why he has never said anything positive about it, by the way. You notice he has previously said, oh, the people, they are opportunists and so on. And that is true. So I think he had his other way. But he let them first go down this way. And then they suffered so many issues. They get to public speaking, and the man's public speaking is, you know, terrible, and people are mocking him, and that's what happens when you go into political field. You know, you're exposed to ridicule, to mockery, to all sorts of things.
And then, how you handle it determines
then of course, if you really want to be a popular politician, as they were telling him he has to be, then you have to handle it a lot better than he's previously known to handle it. Because previously I wrote something on social media and I was picked up by his goons and taken and tortured. Now, if you want to be a politician who is going to be popularized to to be voted by Ugandans. You can't be handling things like that. You can't be mixing things, because the the field that you've entered, ridicule is part of it. People will either support you, ridicule you, boo you, do all sorts of things. Now, if you're not ready for that, keep out of that field. So I think they were doing it with the permission, like, okay, it was a permission, just I'll permit you to do it, but I don't believe it's going to work. And I think it ran its course, and then I think the president proved to himself, and even to those who are trying to convince him that it can work, that it's not going to work. So now he's taken it the way he has always planned. It's interesting, which is the easier way to just impose him.
It's interesting when you suggest President Yoweri Museveni, given his political science acumen, was able to say, let me give it the benefit of the doubt.
No, yes, he does that. He's capable of doing that, just to prove to you. Because now, you imagine, if somebody came and told you, let's say if your son came and told you, I want to do something, and you know him, you've seen him growing up, you know you're not capable of doing that. But that's not an answer you want to give your son. You see? You would prefer that he comes to that conclusion himself. Because it sounds terrible to tell him, okay, I know you want that, but you're not good enough for that. You know. That far you understand. So you say, okay, try and see. But you're trying knowing very well he's going to fail. And now when he has suffered a bit of failure, then it's time for you to come and say, no, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe you actually are better suited for something different. But now he's in a better position to listen to you than before. Because previously you would just say, you're discouraging me. What does my father have against me? Does he think I can't be popular? Does he think people don't love me? Remember there was all these people saying, he was Twitter saying how he's very popular and so on. So you tell him, let's see how that goes.
Interesting submission there. But let me be very academic here and ask the question. If President Yoweri Museveni still wants to rule, govern, or administer, whichever word he chooses to use, and he's looking at 2026 and sees the potential of the embarrassment of standing against the son, or the son standing against him, which is the better word to use, and he's thinking, why don't I clip his wings as early as possible and then put him where I am effectively in control, and that is the military, so that he stays right there?
The thing is this, that is not true, because the son was never going to stand against the president. That wouldn't happen. But here is the problem, because the son is coming up with the PLU and what would cause other groups to mushroom as a result of it. And it would be very difficult for police who have just left PLU to do a major organization in Masaka to stop other people. You see,
from doing the same.
So now, not all of them are going to be friendly fire. So now, if for instance, PLU goes and does a big meeting somewhere, and police doesn't do anything about it, as of course they wouldn't, then we, in the Holy Alliance, go and do the same. Then police comes and stops us. Then we say, why are you stopping us when the others are organizing? So now you see the PLU would have caused all sorts of things. That wouldn't be just, or everybody else would think they can come now and organize and do similar things. And Museveni doesn't want that, So it's easier to bring him here and tell him, sit here, I know how I want you to be president. Okay, because we know that's what he wants. But he has his plan which is better. Now imagine if let's say he stays around until past 2026, and then let's say it's MPs voting for the next president, and then he decides he wants to retire, and then somehow Muhoozi is made chairman of NRM. That can be done, that can be arranged, easier than a universal suffrage election.
The party has a constitution.
Sorry?
You don't expect Muhoozi to be made chairman of the National Resistance Movement when within the party structures he has not emerged anywhere.
Since when did the constitution stop Museveni? You people, the man does what he wants. He has never been known to follow any constitution in all his life. There has not been any constitution that has stopped him from doing what he wants. He comes up and says anything he wants. Those who give food during COVID will be charged with attempted murder. They are laws. that stipulate what attempted murder is. Like he rules like a king. Those who touch the NRM register, and the reason, of course, he's scared about the NRM register, they had a scenario in 2011 where people who are not apparently NRM supporters, I don't even know if they are real NRM supporters, because I consider it to be a part of, what should I say, convenience. A part of convenience. People go there because they conveniently want something. I don't think anybody deep inside them have this whole NRM thing. So anyhow, so 2011, people went into the NRM register and went and voted unpopular people to win the NRM tickets. People whom they know had little chance to win the general election. Because these elections are not, only in very few places are they won on party basis. Elsewhere, if Kableta is popular, it doesn't matter which party he comes through, they will vote for him. So if I went, let's say, and was studying in NRM primaries, and people knew that if I go through the primary and get the NRM ticket, I'm going to win, not because of NRM, but because of my own popularity and the perceived strength among the people, then the people who are not NRM supporters would enter the register and make sure I don't have the NRM ticket. Then they put somebody else there who is weak having the NRM ticket. Then that person loses out. So that has happened before. That's why he has been, it happened specifically in 2011. That's why he has been very cautious about who gets on the NRM registers,
of course,
to vote. But then I was telling you this.
Agree.
I was telling you this. The whole NRM thing and the party, whatever structures and what constitution and NEC and SEC and what, I mean, all those are at his fingertips. He controls them as he wills, and so has he done.
All right, that is opinion. No doubt about it.
No.
Have you read the reality?
First, let's get this straight.
Unless let's get counter with proven facts. Otherwise, it remains opinion.
No, let's get this straight. Yeah. It is observation. Okay, it is observation over a period of time. So that makes it not just an opinion.
An understanding of the working of politics of a country, and you are able to play the game and play the cards does not mean you are contravening the constitution. If you understand, for example, that Kableta or Chris Higenyi, for that matter, might be interested in transitioning from this particular alignment in as far as politics is concerned to another, and then you play him along that is strictly politics, isn't it?
That's dictatorship. When you put a constitution which says it's supposed to have term limits, and then when you get there you bribe MPs to change the term limits and age limit and every other thing that you do not want, okay? When you ask for supplementary budgets 2 weeks into the new budget starting, and you don't expect anybody within parliament to question it, when you have a classified expenditure which keeps... The point is this.
The MPs
the point is this,
who see this through?
Yeah, you can put it down on them, but you know, fish rots from the head. That's the truth. And like in countries like ours, the person who holds the presidency does a lot in steering the country in a specific direction. But anyway, what I wanted to tell you is Museveni has never been held back by a constitution which he considers a piece of paper, which is there to be changed at will. Okay, and that has never held him. So if he wants his son to go through NRM and become the president through NRM, that is going to be so easy, because that's even his party. Okay, he's done that even for other parties. He's done that even for the country. So how much easier would it be to do it within his own party? So that's not going to be an issue.
All right, let's stay with the aspects concerning General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Have you read the UPDF establishment book and the amount of powers that it entrusts the CDF and the Commander-in-Chief?
Not in its entirety, but yes, I have an idea of the amount of powers he has.
So if, for example, not for example, because we already have the fact, the new CDF is the General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Do you see the possibility of General Kainerugaba using his powers as effectively as the book wants him to, and not as the son of basically the brainchild and the mastermind of the army.
Of course, the thing is, his powers will be used depending on whether his father is available or not. Because he knows that the real power belongs to his father. But the father has prepared this seat to ease him into some kind of, you've heard him saying standby generator. Okay? So you know the standby generator does not work when there is power. When you have power, you don't need a standby generator. Mm-hmm. So now the power is in the generator, and the generator can generate power, but it only needs to do that when, power has gone. So now that's what all this is about.
There's a possibility that power could go off and the generator has no fuel.
We shall see when we shall cross that bridge when we get there. I hope so. But as somebody who wishes Uganda well, I actually definitely hope so. Let me tell you this, by the way.
Please do.
And this is a clarion call for everybody who loves this country. This is Museveni's writing of the future he wants for this country. The future we want for this country is different from him and his son. We want a country where we are in control. They are trying to make it a family affair, where they pass on from one member of the family to the next. Now this is, and this is what hurts me, because the people who are supposed to be standing up and knowing that we are at a very crucial time, and this is a time of transition, have been quietened. And they are busy hitting at each other, knocking each other's heads. And actually we do not have the luxury of knocking each other's heads at this point in time. We have to show people that we have an alternative that is much better than Museveni's son. Of course we do. The question is, can we show it to everybody? And can people even within the NRM come and trust us? Because I know there are so many people there who love Uganda, within the NRM, who have been there, but who love Uganda enough to know that this is not the best direction we should be taking. And they know it. And we have to organize ourselves so that they can be comfortable to come and join us, and we work towards building a future for this country. That is a very urgent call for right now. And the trouble is that the people who are supposed to be ganging their heads together to actually convince everybody that we have an alternative. Please come to us. We have an alternative. We love this country. We are going to make sure that this country looks back to the days of Museveni as the worst days that ever was. Why? Because we are going to move on thereafter. Because everything that went wrong now can be corrected. And there is still time for it to be corrected. Now, instead, people are knocking each other's heads.
There is a lot of debate on that, whether the alternatives are knocking each other's heads instead of focusing on the goal is also something that we shall wait on and see exactly how it plays out. But when you speak about alternatives, there is a tendency for the opposition, for example, and any other person that is speaking towards the wave of change to focus entirely on President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and his son, for example, because when you focus on his son and the establishment within the State House, you're focusing on the family. If the family is not in the political picture, you still appear to have absolutely no clear blueprint on how governance will go ahead, on how the transitions for the country will happen. In other words, you tell the country, and this is something you hear from all opposition politicians, we first want Museveni out. Then after that, we begin to craft a new arrangement.
The thing is this, that has never been my message. That has absolutely never been my message. And anybody who has listened to me knows that I never ever saw Museveni as a stumbling block for me building into a perception of what Uganda should look like after him. Because there is going to be an after him, one way or the other. It is going to happen. So now, we have to, it's inevitable. So we have to prepare ourselves for it. Okay? Now, he is himself giving us his idea of life after him. He has given us his blueprint. This is what I want. Now we have to give our blueprint of this is what we want after you. Okay? Now that's where we've followed. I'm talking generally as people, forces of change. But that we are focusing on him.
Say that word again. That's where you have?
That's why we've kind of fallen short, generally, as forces of change. Yes, we have fallen short, but that's not going to last forever, because we are going to come together and we are going to provide a clear alternative. And let me tell you something, when I see Uganda post-Museveni, I'm telling you, I'm seeing a blissful nation, because we are very blessed as a nation. We are being deceived by this person that we are poor. We have been impoverished on purpose. Everything has been done deliberately to cause this confusion and so on. And it is not just in Uganda. Every place you go and study any country where a president has been in power for 40 years and passes on to his son, the things that happen are the same as what happened in Uganda. They first demoralize society, create a very big, large chunk of peasantry who have no aspirations, living off handouts, living for the next government handout, what, all those things, and they have no aspirations of their own. Nobody is trying to work things out. Then they create a political class, as it is here, who are free to loot all the money they want, as long as they know to keep the person on top in power. So they can do whatever it is they want in the political class. So the only people who are actually left behind are the peasantry, who are usually about 70. It's almost a blueprint of what you'd find in countries like Togo and elsewhere, where there have been generational presidency. So there's nothing new here. Impoverish everybody, destroy the fabric of society, I mean especially financial fabric of society. In his case, remove all food security, because before he came, people, I mean, there was a lot of food security. There was issues of school fees, there was issues of medical care and so on, which needed cash, but food was never a problem for any of the peasants. But now it is a problem, even for the peasants. So all those things have been done and they are blueprint. So what I'm trying to say is this. All these things have been done for the purpose of keeping one man in power. The country has been decimated. All systems have been crushed for the singular purpose of keeping one man in power. Now, when we sort the political problem, all these other problems will sort themselves out. And we've seen countries within here, within the African context. I'll even go so near as to Kenya. As soon as the Moi issue was settled, and people say, opposition will think about Moi. But as soon as that was settled, and actually there was a presidency for maximum of 10 years, and people were electing a president and so on, suddenly everything turned around. Now you look at the progress they've made in that time. I'll give you an example, for instance, of Tanzania. I went to Tanzania around the early 2000s, and Tanzania looked so much like Uganda in so many aspects. Then I went there after COVID, because I was tired of the stupid lockdowns here and all the stupidity that came with COVID. I mean, like cut across stupidity that came with COVID. I wanted a place where I would, where I would be. You know, there's no time in the world where people were as stupid as during COVID. Okay, you lock people up, you cause teenage pregnancies, you cause people die of other things because of saying. Like it was the stupidest thing that has ever been done, as far as I'm concerned. Anyhow, but it suited the purpose of Museveni of killing the middle class completely, so that you create a fifth class and a first class. The fifth class, their only aspiration is to join the ruling class. Let me tell I'll tell you something.
Your disregard of the death and the sheer devastation of societies across the globe as a result of COVID, vis-a-vis our own in the situation in Uganda, is sometimes dumbfounding. No doubt.
There is no dumbfounding about it. Let me tell you something. But so many people. Okay, but I'll just tell you this before I go back to my example of Tanzania. Okay. I'll give you an example of Tanzania. Let me tell you, a minimum of 10 times more people died because of the COVID measures than because of COVID. That is a statistical fact. The people who died of curable sicknesses, the women who died not being able to give birth because borders which take people to hospital have been locked, and all that because of the stupid COVID measures. But let me go to the other aspect. Tanzania, I went there after the elections. these 2021 elections in which I stood, because I wanted a place where it's free and people are having fun and so on. I wanted to get away from this COVID stupidity. So I went, and I could not believe the progress they had made in 20 years. 20 years, where they have exclusive bus lanes, where they have 3 stories of, removed a lot of the traffic jams, they have expanded the airport, and they are trying to get business from Uganda, and they are trying to build roads up to Mwanza and then a ferry to bring. Basically, they are trying, they're doing everything. They are telling Uganda, you don't have to use Mombasa, you can use the Rasa port. We've expanded it, we are doing this. In other words, they are doing development. And the development is so evident for everybody. In 20 years, 20 years. Now we've wasted 40 years, and I'm saying total waste. Now, that was about 2001 to when I went there first. And they were Tanzania. Now I went there, they're totally different. And you know what? Else, the statistics will show you that they were one of the most indebted countries across the world. Now they are one of the least indebted countries across the world. And do you know why they said that? They even put the report, because they did not go into these COVID lockdowns and all that. When the COVID lockdowns were there, were across the world, including in Uganda. I was there.
Evidence shows that Tanzania was well on the positive trajectory towards debt relief and beating the debt crisis.
It accelerated, let me tell you, and I'm telling you even from personal testimony, it accelerated when, do you know how many Europeans were in Tanzania when they were told you don't need to test, you don't need to do anything, just come here? I was in Zanzibar. Every single accommodation was taken up, every single one. Bazungu were there working on their laptops at the ocean, spending money there. The cab driver who told me how he became very rich in that period because of those policies. And their game parks were full during that period. And they were having, and the lot of their, growth span was during that period. But anyway, what I'm telling you,
well understood, no doubt. But let me return to the aspects that are the national resistance movement, and of course the way forward when it comes to Uganda. The new cabinet, of course, that has many of the former PLU honchos, including Lilian Aber, Balam Barugahara, and Fiona Nyamtoro. When you look at this, what do you see? Is it a case of telling the national resistance movement, bigger honchos, that it's about time that we begin to adopt, or rather bring young blood on board? Does that even cross your mind?
Young blood, which is beholden to Muhoozi, to the next generation, the dawn of the new era. So a lot of these people who were perceived to be resistant to the new dawn.
When you speak about the fact that they were perceived to be resistant, you begin to create an impression that in a remote chance, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was afraid of Balam Barugahara, Fiona Nyamtoro, Lilian Aber, afraid of them if they were on the other side, where they could mount a real challenge to his power within PLU?
No, you're getting me wrong. Okay. You're getting me wrong. It's not afraid.
Realign my thinking on that.
No, you misunderstood me. The thing is, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about others, let's say in the military, others in other places who have... This whole thing has been built a while. Actually, I wrote this some years ago, where they have an old person, an old person nearing retirement in a big position, but a Muhoozi person under, who has been trained and so on, just waiting for the takeover. And I wrote this some time ago, and it is true, and now the takeovers are actually happening in various places, from public service, ministries and all that, and places that matter, even in police and so on. So this whole takeover has been plotted for a very long time. And we knew it all along. And so did other people. So the reality is that this cabinet was specifically to get PLU away from their delusion that they can popularize Muhoozi enough for him to win an election, to getting them to a place where they can actually do work, steal from Muhoozi, well, I mean, youth and so on. He's going to be continue to do the same things, but not in lieu of trying to get Muhoozi popular enough to be elected. But now, trying to work under, you know, to galvanize youth under him and so on. Because even if he's going to take the presidency through the other arm, still he needs a bit of popular support. And these people are going to be doing that in that regard.
In a nutshell, where does this leave need?
This leaves need as part of a holy alliance, which has so many, a number of parties. And that alliance calling upon everybody who has a wish for a better future for this country, a better future than Muhoozi, to come and join us, to come and we work together. This has nothing to do with anybody's personal ambitions. This is about what we see our country as, because we cannot fold our arms at such a time as this and somehow hope that things are going to turn out better. No, we have to organize towards that. The organizing might be through thick and thin, and it might involve a lot of, you know, fiascos here and there and so on. I mean, battling with police and so on, just to meet people peacefully, because we are peaceful people. However, it has to be done, because Ugandans are counting on us, and there are so many Ugandans, even within the NRM, who are counting on us. So many within the opposition who are counting on us. So many general Ugandans who are counting on us and saying, when are you people coming to show us what you've got? So now, instead of opposition people hitting at each other, and it has become really bloody, and bloody, I mean bloody, as what you saw in Mate. Instead of opposition people hitting at each other, we actually have a responsibility toward this country. We cannot afford, like other countries are moving forward. We are not going to move at the pace of Museveni and his son, because that has already kept us back severely. So now we have to be moving forward, and now is the time for us to stop the succession and start working on a transition. This is the moment, and that's what we need is as part of a holy alliance that is calling upon everybody to come and be part of our alliance. And it's a clarion call for every patriot. Please come and we fight for the future of this country.
I'm afraid I'm out of time. Many thanks, Joseph Kobleta, for the submissions and sharing some information that appears to be very privy to you alone. That will do it for this edition of Morning at NTV. It's been a pleasure having your company, but tomorrow is pretty much yet another day that we shall be able to expound on the issues that are going on in the country, including various developments. On behalf of the team, I'm Chris Higenyi, wishing you a lovely day.